I'm in a season right now where I really want money to support my life, not run it. Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. On today's video, I'm going to be planning and budgeting my finances for the next 3 months. Now, I'm not going to be sharing any actual numbers, but I am going to be sharing my system and the spreadsheet that I made, which I'll link down below, and just how I'm thinking about finances in this season. This is all about feeling organized and less stressed, not being perfect. So if you're trying to get a little bit more clarity going into the next few months, I hope you find this helpful. As you may know, this is part 2 of my life reset series for 2026. And what better way to start than by attacking my budgeting? Especially since, if you saw my last video, I am focusing a lot of my goals and my intentions this year on paying off debt. So why 3 months? Let's get into it. Alrighty, so the reason I'm doing 3 months at a time is simply because there's going to be a lot of changes this year, financially and life-wise. So I really only feel confident budgeting for 3 months at a time. These first 3 months of the year, I had a pay schedule change and my husband got a new job. So we are adjusting and kind of making up for the last few months where we had to put a little bit more money into our credit cards and dig more into our savings. These months do have a lot of events that will be going on and a lot of birthdays, but aside from that, they're pretty straightforward. Now, when you get to the second quarter of the year, that becomes a little bit more tricky because during that quarter, we will be having to look for a new place and move since our lease ends. That's going to require some money, obviously, that we need to plan for, and it's also going to require like moving costs and all these things that need to be taken into consideration, but that I'm not ready to look into yet. So again, that's my big reason for these 3 months. It's just more foreseeable, and it forces me to actually sit down and see what's working, see what's not working, adjust my budget in a timely manner. A couple things to take into consideration. Before I sat down here to create my budget and to do all of these things, I did first have a sit down with my husband where we went over all of our finances. We went over what debt we have, the minimum payments. We just exchanged all of that information. And something very important, my husband has a link to this worksheet, so he is able to go in it and see it just as much as I can. And this helps keep us both in the same page. Something I do every year without fail is I create some sort of spreadsheet on the Sheets app in Google. The reason I create a new one every year instead of just continuing to use it is because something about whatever spreadsheet I made wasn't working. So I tried to perfect it specifically for my money goals for that year. This year I have created one that I feel matches perfectly with the goals that I have in mind and will help me keep track of my spending and all of that as the weeks and months go by. So let's get right into it. Okay, so this is my spreadsheet. I don't know if you can tell, but I've color coded it to Taylor Swift's new album, Life of a Showgirl. So fun fact there. Alrighty, let's take a look at what I have here. So I have 2026 budget, but there are tabs down here that are going to show the 3 quarters of the month. So it's going to show quarter 1, January through March, then quarter 2, April through June, so on and so forth. My husband and I combined our income, so I'm taking that into consideration as I created this spreadsheet. So here I put our paychecks. We both get paid 2 times in the month, so it would go there. It would go our first paychecks and then our second paychecks. And then we both have the opportunity to earn extra money. So I added like bonuses, stipends, and obviously the tax refund. Then this window right here is for the cash flow, and this is where all of these different categories in the bottom are going to go to in a way that I could see where my money's going. And I also added this birthday and events category because it's important to take into consideration as well the different events that you have to spend money on. If you go down here, these are some of the main ones. Here are monthly expenses joint, which is obviously like your rent, your daycare, your phone bill, car insurance, health insurance, if you have a storage, electricity, internet, things like that that are pretty standard month to month and that we pay for together. Then after that, we have both our subscriptions, the things that we are both subscribed to. Then over here, semi-fixed expenses, and this is like money that I spend on replenishing laundry detergent or dish soap or things like that. And also things like an annual pass that would kind of be a subscription, but it isn't. So that's there. And then for personal care, we do any grooming, waxing, hair, nails, whatever. And then we have our variables, which variable essentials, money is still going to be going to them, but we don't know how much exactly just yet. And this is stuff like groceries and gas. And then over here we have a lifestyle, and this is where the budget really comes into fruition because you have to decide how much you're going to spend on eating out and entertainment and how much of that you are going to be using for savings. And then if we go down here, this is where debt lives. You have separate credit cards. You can do some credit cards over here, then some credit cards over here. If you have any loans, this is where they would go to as well. And for this one, what was important was to show my full balance on each credit card, the percentage I'm paying for them, because that'll just like help me narrow down whether I should pay one card off versus another. And then obviously like the minimums I'm paying, because if I'm paying $300 a month for a credit card, then it would be in my best benefit to eliminate that card first. So it's good to just like see everything spread out. And this debt has its own little section in the cash flow area. This spreadsheet is just a way for me to see everything in one place. I don't use it to track every dollar. It's more of awareness than it is about tracking every single cent that you spend. Now, what I'm doing with my system is truly simplifying and really creating a way so that I have one set place to go, somewhere where I can see all of my cash flow, see exactly where my money's going, why it's going there, and it also makes it very easy to see anything that I can tweak or do better on, especially for, once again, paying off the debt that needs to be paid off this year. Alrighty, so now let's look at a month by month breakdown of what I have upcoming. Something I did that's very important is I sat down and wrote the due dates for everything that we pay. This is very helpful when it comes to seeing what paycheck is going to do what, but it's also extremely helpful, especially in this month of January, just so I know what needs to be adjusted with my new pay schedule. First, let's look at January. So for January, I know we're going to be a little bit tighter with our spending simply because this is the month that my payroll changed. I think I'm going to split it down the middle, and on one side I'm going to put paycheck 1 and on the other side paycheck 2. And then what I'm going to do is list all the stuff that needs to go out with the first paycheck and all the stuff that needs to go out with the second paycheck. Okay, so to keep myself accountable, I make sure I do check-ins once or twice a week just to make sure that I'm tracking my finances. And the way that I keep myself accountable of doing this is using my habit tracker. And for this one, I have a track expenses habit where I get notified twice a week. I chose my days to be Wednesday and Sunday. I have the habit app make sure that I track my finances instead of ignoring them, because ignorance is not bliss. Something else that I do, and this I do on my notes app. So I have a section of my notes dedicated to finances, and here I already wrote my months of January, February, and March, and then a 26 final monthly budget because I already did work it out on the worksheet. I want to keep track of the money that we're spending that isn't tied to our expenses. So like, for example, we do pizza Fridays. We went to breakfast at a place called Barry's. I have to add the price for that. I put the date and that, and that's also a really good way to keep track of your transactions so that you always know when it was you had and you don't rely on your bank exclusively to tell you. Highly recommend. As anyone that has ever had any financial trouble, you know that checking your bank account can be a huge trigger for stress and anxiety. And what I'm trying to do with my system and tracking and doing all of these things is avoid that anxiety, avoid that stress of just letting things ride, right? Because we always know what's happening, we just don't want to see the numbers attached to it. Sometimes it is a situation where you have no other choice and there's no guilt behind it, but you still know what's happening. So I think it's really important to check your finances regularly, have a budget in place, have some sort of system so that you know exactly where your money is going. Because if you don't, then your finances just get out of your hands and a situation that could have been very easily tamed just becomes worse and worse and worse. I'm in a season right now where I really want money to support my life, not run it. And I think by putting these systems into place and really tracking everything that's going on with our money, it just prepares me for any surprises that could be coming along the way, or simply helps me actually achieve the goals that I set for this year. This is what budgeting looks like for us. Simple, flexible, and very focused on the next few months. And thank you so much for spending some time with me today. And I truly hope you found something of value in this video. If you did, please give me a like. It does help me a lot. And I will see you next time. Bye. Some kind of beautiful